Textiles are a family legacy for me. My mother taught me cross-stitch embroidery when I was in the third grade, and my grandmother did embroidery, and my great-grandmother did embroidery, and I have all their sewing baskets. I have some of their work displayed in my home, and I also have my great-grandmother's treadle sewing machine, which I use for my quilting and sewing. I also learned sewing in school. In my middle school, everyone was taught how to use a sewing machine. And also around this time, my best friend and I started having little sewing bees. We each had a little sewing kit, and we would get together and work on little hand sewing projects. As for bringing textiles into my art practice, this happened around 2004, 2005. This was the Bush era, and I was always going to protests and marches. During this time, I came across a book called Your First Quilt Book by Carol Doak. I looked at this book and I thought about how we were making signs for each protest, and the signs would get trashed and we would have to make new ones. I thought, what if I made a banner that I could use over and over instead of disposable signs? It would save time once it was made. So I started quilting, and pretty quickly the banner idea fell by the wayside, and I just became obsessed with learning about quilt making and quilt history. Around this time, I started working at the Metropolitan Museum of Art as a volunteer conservation technician. And at the Met, I saw quilts hanging in the galleries and also in the bookstore, featured on cards and calendars and things like that. And I thought, well, gee, they think very highly of quilts here, and it helped cement the idea to use quilts as a medium for my art. Now, currently, I'm focused on weaving and tapestry, which has its own origin story. But my piece SOS brings things full circle in being basically a protest textile that can be brought out again and again to make a political point.